So, a very warm welcome to In the Limelight. This is our second interview, and today we have with us the amazing Derek and Penny.
Yeah.
Ta-da! And we are going to be talking to them about all things Route 61. So we're very excited to be having this chat today. And we are going to be delving deep into everything about Route 61 and finding out more about what the charity does, and their dreams and plans for the future. So very exciting. So it's great to have you with us, guys.
Thank you. Welcome.
Now, there may be some people out there who don't actually know anything about Route 61 or Derek and Penny themselves. So perhaps we should just start right there and ask you just to tell us just a little bit about yourself. Just give us a few snippets about your life and who you are.
I think ladies should go first. Ladies before gentlemen, don't you?
Ladies before gentlemen. Okay, so I'm Penny. I was born I'm an Essex girl by birth. This is interesting.
No.
Yeah. And then when I was 2, we moved to Sheffield. So really, I'm a Yorkshire girl, really. Not born, but definitely bred in Yorkshire. And so I spent most of my younger days in Yorkshire. Was a very naughty girl. I'm a vicar's daughter. And so from a kind of like God's perspective, I rebelled pretty heavily. And then at the age of 24, met Jesus and enjoyed getting to know him more and more since then. So met this one when I was 29. Met Jesus first, and met Derek. And we got married, which is good. And now we find ourselves nearly 25 years into our marriage and further on in our lives together. And sharing a fun adventure with God.
So my name's Derek, and as Penny said, we've been married for 25 years. I'm from an area of England called the Black Country, which has nothing to do with people's colour of their skin or anything like that. It's actually something to do with the Industrial Revolution, that kind of thing. As a funny story, when we first moved to Kenya, we used to send these messages when we were returning from our trips, and I just put up this message on Facebook to just to let people know what we were doing. I said, it's been so great, we're heading now to the Black Country just to see family. And one of our friends from London, she wrote back and said, oh, you're going back to Kenya so soon? So no, I'm from the Black Country, born and bred. Maybe my accent will come out a little bit as we speak, but that's me.
So you guys, you are currently living in Kenya. So perhaps you could tell us what led you to Kenya? Why are you there?
Yeah, what or who would be the way I'd phrase that question. We got ambushed by God, really, and it's a great question, and it's a really deep question. I mean, how much time have you got?
Only 3 hours.
Only 3 hours. Okay, we'll try and keep it brief. We'll give you the abridged version of the journey, and it's really important because, you know, when you look at where we are and how we got there, some people would look at that and they go, "Wow, I could never do that." But the fact is, there's some elements of our journey which actually are pertinent to everybody in their walk with Jesus, and I think it's a beautiful journey of God giving us an invitation. Psalm 25 talks about God wants to take us by the hand and walk the journey of our lives together. And that's what we really did. We put our hand in his and allowed him to lead us. And he's so beautiful and so easy to please. And that's really part of our message, really, which maybe we'll talk on later. But it's the fact that he never overburdens us. It's never too much. He's really gentle. He's kind. He's understanding. He doesn't push you. He woos you with his love, and he drew us. And it's a beautiful story as we go step by step of learning to trust him a little bit at a time. And I'm just really setting the scene, really. I think Penny's far better at telling the story with the details. I may pitch in a little bit, but it's just for me, for you and for anybody who is with us today, it's listen to our story, but it's what can you draw from the story about this God who wants you to take him by the hand, who has an amazing life and journey and an adventure for you where you are, doing what you're doing. It may not be involved. It may not involve going to Kenya, giving up all of your possessions and that kind of stuff, but it will involve something. And don't get too worried about the destination. Just enjoy the journey and what he's releasing and bringing to you and wooing you with on a daily basis.
So good.
Would you like to give a bit of detail about how we got to Kenya? Because it is quite big.
It's a big story, but I'm going to be as succinct as possible. Highlights. Basically, we'd both been working full time. We moved down to the south from the Midlands, and obviously with that brought a lot of there was an increase in general living costs, and we brought some debt with us. And many years ago, at the height of when was it?
2007, some 8, 9, that sort of area.
Yeah. We found ourselves in a situation where Derek particularly wasn't enjoying work. We'd kind of felt like we needed to find a spiritual home, that we'd kind of been like searching for a place to settle and just be and feel part of a church family. Yeah. And we'd been looking. And to cut a long story short, we had debt. We were not happy. We were seeking after God in ways that I don't think we'd ever sought before, really. There was a real hunger in both of our hearts just to find the more. There must be more. And in the process, God said, sell your house and sell your possessions. And this was just as recession hit. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And to cut a long story short, we did sell the house, and we actually sold it for more than we bought it at the height of the housing market.
Wow.
2 Christians, even before it was on the market, in a situation where houses were not selling. And step by step, he just said, right, let go of everything. And that included full-time work. We had to do part-time work, but just listening to his voice, really, which sounds very grand, but it really was a time of feeling that that's what he was asking us to do. And that resulted in, I think about 9 months later, 9 months later after we sold the house, to actually being invited to go on a short-term mission to Kenya. And literally within the first few days, the directors of the charity that we went to visit said, could you see yourselves living out here? And we both said yes.
Wow.
Our brains did not engage, but something came out of us which said yes. And we both realised that it was something that if we thought too much about it, we wouldn't have said yes.
Yeah.
And they said, great, because we believe you're the couple that we've been praying for. And so that began our Kenyan adventure, and we literally started moving out to Kenya, bit by bit. From that September, we went out in the June, and then from September onwards, that's where we started in Kenya, and we started looking after this amazing family of orphans or vulnerable children, ex-street kids, in a children's home in Kenya. And that's where we started our Kenyan journey.
What year was it that you landed for the first time in Kenya?
We landed in Kenya in 2010. It was in the summer of 2010 for the first trip, and then within 4 or 5 months we started taking longer and longer trips, just again feeling our way, because it is quite a big step, big cultural shift, cultural change, and there was some housekeeping we needed to do as well along the way. And but now we're fully established, and it really is home for us, isn't it? Yeah. Kenya.
The first few years in Kenya, you were working for a couple of different charities, but now you're running your own charity. So tell us all about how Route 61 happened and started.
Penny, would you like to answer? Or me?
Okay, I will try and do a Penny version. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I'll remember certain things, or certain things will be really important to me, and then you'll be like, well, actually,
it's not how I remember it.
It's not how I remember it. But again, we knew that God had called us to Kenya, but we also knew that, we wanted to remain in his call and his will. And, there's plenty of need. There's plenty of need in every country. So we didn't want to kind of like step out and just do something for the sake of it. And I think in a brief way to describe, I guess, our journey to becoming a charity is that things actually, we did try and follow his back as much as possible. And then what happened was the work that kind of naturally evolved from that, ministry or the impact of us and what Jesus was doing in Kenya got to a point where we realised that actually this thing's bigger than Derek and Penny. It's no longer Derek and Penny being sent out as missionaries. There's actually a work coming out of us being on the ground as such. And actually, for transparency, not only in the UK, but for Kenya, because obviously Kenya's a developing nation. And so if you're bringing, for example, money into the country or people or anything, there's a whole load of things that we wanted to make sure that we were ticking the box for and do it well.
Right thing,
And so I guess that's a simple way of saying that it evolved to a place where it was like, okay, now is the time to open a charity, not only in Kenya, but actually in the UK as well. And so actually over the past 2 years, we've now been able to see the setup of the UK side, which is Route 61 International,
so
which
good.
is great. And I think the Kenya side is maybe 2 years older than that.
But Caroline's right. It was we did start off working for other people and coming under their vision a little bit, which was really again part of the process of God leading us to somewhere,
And we had training ground,
and we had no idea.
Yeah.
And it's okay not to have any idea, actually. But I remember one day we were working with a lovely charity based in the city of Kisumu, headed up by some real heavyweights of the missionary community in Kisumu, Dan and Patty Schmeltzer. Give them a shout out. Yeah. And that charity is called Capstone Ministries, and they work with street children. And they're pioneers really in the field, because rather than following the traditional model of seeing a need of these vulnerable children and taking them to an institution and creating a home for them, they really feel they feel the need to get those children back into the families and the communities that God placed them in and where He intended. Yeah. So we learned a lot from them. But part of what they used to do is go to the local juvenile justice institution. It's called a remand home. And they would, on a Thursday afternoon, they would do a session with the kids. And we started doing that when we were babysitting the project for them. And one day, the chaplain for the Children's Services of Kenya, the Kenyan government, came to meet with all of, they call them stakeholders, the partners that are helping in institutions. And he got us in a very small room. We were sitting around, and he was just wanted to really understand what was happening, what was going on. So we were in this very small room having a meeting with Reverend Kirui, the chaplain of Children's Services Kenya. And I was sitting on his right, and often when you're on the right of someone and they're addressing the room, they don't see you, they overlook you because you're not in their peripheral vision. And I was just taking it in, observing what was going on in the room. And he was getting all of this information about the different activities within the institution. And I just felt God say, this is all well and good, him learning, but what does he need? What are his areas of need?
Good question.
And we often say to the Kenyans, we joke with them about the fact when you go to catch a tube in London, the tannoy comes on, doesn't it? It's like, mind the gap. Mind the gap between the platform and the train. And we talked about this, and I actually say, but often when we're seeking God to do something, we think, well, what has God called me to do? What could he do? You try to receive something. Tell me. And sometimes it's as plain as, where's there a gap? Where is there a need? What is Jesus doing on earth today? And you can see that need. So I asked him the question. Reverend Carew, it's wonderful hearing all of these things, but what do you need? And he almost fell off his chair with absolute surprise, because nobody had ever asked him what he needed and how he could be helped.
Yeah.
And we then began a God-given opportunity partnership with the Chaplaincy for Children's Services in Kenya. It's an amazing opportunity, a wonderful open door where we can take the message of God's love. Not just the message, we can go and love the children in a way that it's unprecedented, I think. The activity and exposure and the environment we can create for these wonderful children to let them meet God and encounter Him in their hearts for themselves. And that's really where it began. And the opportunity just grew, and it just became, as Penny said, much bigger than us. And that's kingdom though, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're in a partnership. We can't do this on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we are just seeing what Jesus is doing on earth, and we want to partner with Him. And who's Jesus on the earth? It's His body. It's the church. So it's not an exclusive Derek and Penny thing. It's we belong to the kingdom. So that's why we established the charity Route 61.
So, on a practical level, what does the work of Route 61, the work of Derek and Penny, Jacob, any others in your team, what does that look like on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis in a really hands-on, practical way? What does that look like?
And maybe in that answer you could include for us the story about the space that you created in that children's remand home, because I think that's a very exciting picture about what the dream for Route 61 is all about.
That's a really good question, and if I can answer in terms of what we need to do to almost like make Route 61 work on the ground. So that may be equipping our lovely Pastor Jacob or Carol. So Carol is our Watoto Bingwa, and that means children's champion. And if you've met Carol, she loves children. She connects super easily. She's like the superhero of actually connecting with children. And so we have these two paid members of staff who are going into Kakamega and Kisumu, and the things that they do include Dignity 61, which is a program or a project, I don't know what we call it really, but to focus on the girls that are within the juvenile justice system. And often these girls are really vulnerable. They may have been raped or just been, I don't know, left or abused, like so many different reasons. But if you can imagine yourself as a young girl surrounded by predominantly boys within the justice system, you can feel even more vulnerable and unsafe. Dignity 61 really wants to meet that need in girls, to make them feel that they are listened to, that they are safe. So Carol will go in equipped with, for example, underwear. So just to give like clean new underwear to a young girl is like incredible. It can start a very deep dialogue. It can start healing. So underwear, even sanitary towels, going in, talking about how to look after themselves physically as a young lady, as a girl, even sex education, like we've done as well with Dignity 61. So that is purely to take care and just, bring the love of God in a different way to the girls within the system. We now have a new project called the ET Phone Home. And so for some of you, some of us who are above a certain age, the whole thing about the ET movie was equipping ET with some sort of phone so that he could communicate with home. During COVID, these kiddies haven't been able to connect with their family. And so something really simple as equipping each home that we have relationship with, a telephone, a handset, and airtime every month means that this child or all the children can be supervised to start a dialogue and reconnect with family members, with community. And actually we've already started that. So it's very young, it's only a few months old, but oh my goodness, amazing fruit from that already. Also things like Bible buddies, so making sure that the kiddies have actually got Bibles to read, so Jacob could do a Bible like little study, or Carol can, and that can be over the phone. So yes, they can go in now. The government have just started opening their doors just before Christmas really, but before that Jacob could actually phone in and they could use their Bibles to have a little Bible study. Sometimes my role is to go shopping. So we need to equip, obviously, Jacob and Carol, but you have to do the shopping for that. So you might be buying, I don't know, soap or sanitary towels or lollipops, or they need this new football, or if Jacob may need like a little bit of money extra because he's having a pastoral with somebody, equipping him for that. But yeah, it feels like a lot of equipping's been going on. Just to enable things to really move forward.
And of course, sometimes you guys are investigating new doors that are opening as well. So some of your time will be going to other towns or areas to look at what God's opening up for you to get connected with there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
That's another time-consuming thing.
Yeah.
So one of the things we did just before we left was, like Caroline said, we identified an institution. It's a baby rescue centre in Nairobi. And we went to visit, and it's really tragic. These are children that have been stolen from family, maybe for trafficking, or have been the result of an unwanted pregnancy, and the children are just abandoned in some horrific ways. And they end up in this government institution, and they just desperately need things like nappies. So one of the things we do is we have been resourcing them with nappies.
Yeah, Route 61 was able to send a great big bulk of nappies over for these babies. And I'm actually going, I've got some little baby grows and blankets, but I think going forward it feels like there's something on the whole baby rescue for Route 61. We're not sure what, but that's another relationship that seems to be growing. David alluded to a room, and actually the room that he was talking about was a spare room that was in the remand home that had just been used for storage. And when we first, as Derek said, when we first started going in, we were with a different charity and then kind of moved into having our own slot as Derek and Penny, but then Route 61. And that really meant that we could go and fill that slot of time with whatever we wanted to. Obviously, we had to get the authority and approval, but basically the kids needed exercise. So what we played football with them. We got volunteers. I mean, we need to talk about that. Actually, there's been a great team of Kenyan volunteers who have come alongside us to really pour into these children, whether it's literally been playing football or singing and dancing with them or doing art with them or teaching them about the Bible but in fun ways. So we've had a great young man coming in and doing that. And so can I just talk about that was pre-COVID. So if we think about that time when we were going in pre-COVID, we had a team of volunteers. There was this room that was being used as a storeroom. And it was a day, one of those days when I think we were, I don't know, probably I was being nosy. And I'm like, wow, this room could be used for the kids. It could be a dream room. And I was like, I don't know what a dream room is, but it sounds really good. And actually, we kind of started thinking, imagine if we could have this space that the kids could use for doing fun things. They could engage with God in this room. It could be just a room for them, because the other spaces they have are literally their bedrooms, their dormitories, or a dining room. So no other space. apart from being outside. And so we just got a real vision for that, and the home did, the remand home did, and the management. It was really great. And so we went ahead, and I say we, there was a great team of people in the UK and actually probably across the world who got on board, sent some money to fund some building work. We had a great family come over and oversee that work. And so now we have a dream room, or there is a dream room in Kisumu Remand Home. And the best thing is that there's a mural on the wall that goes right round for 3 of the actual wall.
So good.
Depicting the story of the prodigal son or the lost son.
Wow.
And so you see right from the beginning where the son is rejecting his father. He moves around, goes, spends his money, does lots of crazy things, ends up with the pigs because he loses everything, then has like a bit of a ting light bulb moment and says, right, okay, what am I doing here? Surely it's better for me to go home. And then so when you get around to this wall, you see the father who is running towards his son who is like, he's dirty and stinky, like the artwork has like flies buzzing around him. It's really cool. And his clothes are all ripped and you could almost smell him from the picture. It's great. And then, the running father, and then the party and the celebration of the son being home.
Good.
And for me, I get really excited because it's so powerful. And our lovely chaplain, Jacob, who works as the Route 61 chaplain, he has taken literally so many children round, telling them the story of our Heavenly Father and the way that he sees us and each of us, and just runs to embrace us, whatever we've done, because he says, look, come home with me. I accept you. You belong. I love you. Everything you've done can be forgiven. Walk forward with me. And so it's become this incredibly powerful room, hasn't it? Where people, not only just kiddies, but members of staff or visitors have been impacted on a different level by Luke 15 and that whole incredible story. And God's just touched hearts, changed lives just because of that room.
Yeah.
So it's been beautiful.
It is a beautiful room, but it's so nice. It's the nicest room they have in the whole institution now. So when they have visitors, the manager will actually host all the visitors in this room. When the director of children's services comes to visit, they set up the tables, but it's in the dream room, and they're surrounded by this amazing story of the prodigal son. But not just that, the one of the walls is full of beautiful scriptures taken from what's called the Father's love letter, which is it's a beautiful creative piece of work by Barry Adams. And we've just taken the key scriptures and they're on the wall, and they sit there and they're just like immersed in this beautiful reminder and environment. And it's almost like they're wrapped in God's presence just by what's created on the walls. We love it.
Yeah, very cool.
I mean, I'm just getting a picture of the fact that this is a government institution. It is secure.
Yes.
So the children right the way up to 18 are kept there. They've got no freedom really beyond those walls. And yet right in the heart of this place, you've been given permission to create a space where these young people can sit and dream, but also they can maybe inspire to think about something that's bigger than where they are and their lives, and also giving them a perspective of how God sees them, which is just an amazing story. You mentioned Jacob, and I'm assuming now that he is able to go back into the remand centre. When Jacob goes in there, what does his work actually look like? What things does he do with the children in the institution when he goes in normally, just on a week-to-week basis?
It's a bit overused, the word mentor, but he goes in and he comes up alongside the children. He's just a voice of encouragement. More than that, we mustn't forget the power of actually seeing somebody. these children they've been taken from communities, from homes. They've found themselves thrust into these environments where they just become one member of a huge population. And the government's only remit for these children is, do we provide shelter for them and do we feed them?
Right, yeah.
And what the Kenyan government does is really important and it's good, but it's really lacking in so many ways. And these children just thrust in there, and whenever we talk to them, the big thing that comes out is they feel forgotten. Mm. They want to know what's going on in the outside world because they just feel so cut off and separated. Yeah. And somebody like Jacob going in, not just every few months, but consistently every week, going in, speaking to them, seeing them, praying with them. We sometimes have the opportunity to minister to them in some very tactile ways that is a real privilege to do. And when he does that, we're just seeing God touch the hearts of these children and bring restoration and healing in some very beautiful ways. But also we're seeing very practical things, like he goes and encourages them because some of these children have experienced horrors, absolute horrors in their lives. Because not all we talk about a juvenile justice institution, and straight away you think, these are naughty children. 80% of the children in the juvenile justice system are there for care and protection. They've been taken out of something horrendous and placed in a hard place. And Jacob goes in and he walks with them. He's like a father figure to them. And he encourages them to make good choices, to take responsibilities. He encourages them to forgive. Forgiveness is just such a powerful gift that God has given us that opens up healing and freedom in ways that when we see it, it's just like so beautiful, so powerful. And Jacob, he's armed in stories all of the time, testimonies, which we haven't got time to go into today, of children that have in their hearts genuinely come to a place where they've forgiven the people that have inflicted those horrors upon them, and the freedom and the healing that's come. Good. And then the restoration within relationships, within families and communities that comes. It's just amazing. So those are some of the things that Jacob is doing.
His presence there is just like reminding the kids that somebody cares.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm here.
Yeah.
I care.
Can I just jump in, because it's really good what you said, but I think if we give a context that actually Jacob has been with Route 61 for 5 years, and he came in as volunteer. He didn't want any money whatsoever, which is incredible, absolutely incredible. But over those 5 years, he has faithfully served the children at the remand home. And so he has real history, not only with the children, but now with the staff.
Yeah.
So he can walk through the front door, and his normal day could look like he goes in, a staff member needs to talk to him because they're having a domestic situation that they feel overwhelmed with. He walks out into the courtyard. The kids are saying, Pastor Jacob, can we play football? So he organises that. He could be organising and overseeing drawing. He could be even organising the line for the lunch queue. He could be doing so many different things. And actually, because he hasn't got a team at the moment, because of the restrictions, he's having to do everything. So yes, there is a normal, but actually what is normal? He's just amazing. And he's much loved, and he's been really, really missed by the institutions through COVID.
So it's much more than a program. It's about investing in people, investing in relationships.
Absolutely.
And actually coming in to serve and to say, so what can I do for you?
Yes.
Like you were saying, Derek, about filling that gap. But you're saying actually there's lots of gaps that are being filled, but they're done with a heart that comes alongside to say, we really want to show you what our Father in heaven is like.
Yes.
And actually the thing that he values the most, the thing that's in his heart is relationship. It's knowing that you are valued, that you are heard, that you are seen, that I can listen to you and I can learn from you, I can understand. And responding from that place rather than going to say we want to do all these things for you and we want to tell you all of these messages. It's understanding maybe that there's another way of looking at this.
So who are we and what we're about? We work in a country where 80% of people, if you stop them in the street and ask them about their spirituality, they'll say, I'm a Christian. And which is really great, because we don't have to convince people is there a God or isn't there one. Straight away they are they have a spiritual awareness, a spiritual understanding. But when you start to scratch a bit deeper, it's a little bit shallow they don't really know what they believe, but I actually want to say they don't really know who they believe. And so who are we and what we're about is we're missionaries and we're a spiritual organisation. And the true essence of a missionary is we want to take the gospel. But what is the gospel? Because it's become something. And I think God wants it to become really simple again. And what we're doing is we're taking a simple gospel wherever we go, whether it's Kenya or beyond. We want to take it and make it simple. And that is that actually there's a God who loves you. He's really easy to please. It's not about all the other stuff that we often make it, and all the effort and the hoops and the performance. It's about a relationship first and foremost. And we are sent to help those that we are with to be reconnected in their hearts with the God who loves them through his son Jesus, very simply, so that they can receive his love, because it's his love that transforms. It's his love that changes. The Band-Aid thing will do something, but actually God wants to heal the hearts of individuals. So we're not about projects, we're about hearts. And that's where our focus is now. And does that take place in the juvenile justice system? Of course it does. Absolutely it does. But it's everywhere. It's everywhere we go. So it's much more than just working in the juvenile justice system.
I think the way that I would respond is that I think Kenya almost reflected my kind of walk with God in some ways up till about 2009. So I'd met Jesus, then I met Holy Spirit, but I didn't know Father, and I certainly didn't know the love of the Father. And we've both been so impacted by the revelation of the Father's love that actually when you meet people who don't know Father yet, that he's a good Father, that actually he wants to take care of his children, whether they're in Kenya, in the UK, anywhere in the world, that there's a relationship and depth of relationship that often is not talked about. And so many people look at us with surprise of like, what, God loves me and he calls me his own. And so what we've seen is that revelation impact the Kenyan team that we've had. And now we're seeing almost like an overflow of that going forward, aren't we? And almost like the hearts that have been touched by the Father's love, particularly Jacob and Carol, actually responding, and we're seeing fruit. So now things are happening that for example, Jacob's meeting with a group of students in the hometown where he lives. And it's like, how can Route 61 support what's happening in Jacob's life that God is really bringing or birthing almost? And so it feels like there's things popping up that maybe we can't really see. We completely believe that God's called us to the juvenile justice system, and that will continue with different programs, looking after maybe focusing on the girls within the juvenile justice system, equipping them with Bibles, for example, maybe doing more dream rooms. Who can tell? But it feels like things are now beginning to multiply in ways that we wouldn't have expected, but certainly coming out of a place where it's deeper than just a good idea, that it feels like there's something being birthed and that God's breathing on. So yeah.
I guess to simplify it, we now know that we're a missional organisation. What does that mean? It means that we send people from different places into different communities to bring the love of God, but our goal is to raise up missionaries. And the way we're doing that is we're working with local people, indigenous people. We want to create a place where they can come and they can be impacted by the love of God, where they can be transformed and they can be changed.
So good.
And then we send them out into their villages, into their communities, into their churches. So whereas before it was all about the juvenile justice system, now it's more about we're a missional organisation raising others. Yes, part of that will be sending them into the juvenile justice system.
Yeah.
Because that's so close to God's heart. It's so close to what we see in Scripture. You know, children that are orphaned, children cut off from family. They're vulnerable children. That's so important. But actually, that's an expression of what He's doing, not the main event. As we go forward, we're now looking at ways we can actually create a place where those who are hungry, those who are thirsty can come, and we can interact, we can engage with them, and we can create a place of God's presence where they can authentically meet the God who made them, the Father that loves them.
Yeah.
And when you meet Him, you get changed, you get transformed, and you don't want to keep it to yourself anymore. You actually want to go and do something.
Yeah.
And we want to create this place and then send. And where are these people from? They could be from all over, from internationally, but also the focus is locally. And why is that important is because when you release people contextually in their where they are from, they can go and they can move and they can communicate in a way that I can't do it.
I get that, yeah.
But our role is to
Be mum and dad.
be mum,
actually.
be mum and dad, and just to stand and represent take what God is giving us and pour it out into them, to impart that into them, and then just say
and
go.
empower them to go.
Yeah.
And they go,
exactly.
and maybe they'll go with Route 61, maybe they won't. But that's not our responsibility. Ours is to create this place where they are transformed, they are changed, they become like little Christians, and we send them out. And they do it, and they walk with Father, and they basically respond to Him how we respond to Him. But we do it in community, because as I said before, nobody's called to do anything in isolation. Everything is really about body, community, kingdom, because we need one another, and that's the expression of Jesus on the earth today.
Linking into that, you also encourage and help support the team of chaplains, the Kenyan chaplains that actually already go and minister in a lot of these areas. So that's really important.
Yeah,
That
really.
you're pouring out into them to encourage and build them up to go and do the job that
That's
God's
right.
got for them. So that's really important too. So if people are listening to this today and they're thinking, oh, this
Well, I
sounds
hope they are.
amazing.
Be a couple of people.
And they want to find out more about Route 61, or they want to get involved in any way or connect with you, how should they go about that?
Route 61 is partnering with Jesus in what He's doing in the world today. And we are a place where you can come and you can connect, and you can be involved in something where you will be making a huge difference, where you will be making a significant impact in the lives of people maybe you don't get to meet. But when you're connected with us, hopefully we're learning to build a community where you can feel like you belong and you're actually doing something, and together we're actually helping Jesus and responding to His invitation. Maybe you want to do that through praying. Praying changes things. The prayers of a righteous man are powerful and effective, is what James wrote. If something's powerful and effective, it means it works. It makes a difference. So praying, you can partner with us and pray. Maybe you've got some skills and talents that we don't have that you want to offer.
Yeah.
We'd love to have a conversation, a dialogue, and see, what sort of things could you do? Maybe you're feeling the urge to something to take another step and step out where we've stepped out. We've got a few years now, 10 years worth of, it's actually over 10 years now worth of experience. I'm not saying you'll come to Route 61 and be with us, but maybe we can help you on that journey. We'd love it if you could, if God is bringing you to align yourselves with us and be with us, we'd love for you to join us on that journey as well. So there's lots of ways that you can connect, you can be a part of us, and it's about starting a conversation because it's all about relationship.
Yeah.
We're a relational organisation, and we just want to say that you can do that through several ways. You can do that through emails, you can connect with us through our newsletters, you can connect with us through Facebook, those sort of things. And I'm sure there's a way we can actually show you those addresses and things at the end of this discussion.
I'm assuming that on your website, if people listening to this today, they're thinking, do you know what, I can't go, you know, maybe what I'd like to do is I'd like to help support the work financially. I'd like to give a gift, or I'd like to regularly give so that I can release others to go. I can release Jacob to go and many others like him.
Absolutely.
The details are on your website, so you can give and get the information that you need on that.
Yes, you go there, you should be able to navigate yourself to where you need to go.
No, that's so good.
Going forward, especially this year, as things open up for everybody, there will be more opportunities for people to connect and feel that if they want to do something specific, they can do that, maybe fundraising.
Yeah, a fundraising event or something.
Yeah, I know a lovely lady who loves to knit. And one of her blessings was she knitted like loads of little hats. Actually, they were quite big hats. And we were able to bless kids with hats, which sounds kind of weird in Kenya because you think, oh, hang on a minute, it's hot. Yeah. But actually they love it because it can get really cold at night. So I can see things like little different events going on, or, you know, we're hoping to really go for a new dream room in a new location this year.
So cool.
So it's almost like watch this space. Let's see what God's doing, but we'll pop out information. So there will be ways that hopefully if they touch your heart and you think, wow, I'd love to get involved in that part of Route 61, or let me knit a baby blanket or whatever that may be, we'll get it up and out there as such.
So I guess a key way to keep up to date is to sign up for your newsletters, so that folk can keep up to date with what is happening and what is going to be happening, what's coming up.
Hot off the press.
And you can do all that through the website. It's all on there.
Brilliant.
It's really great to be able to delve a bit deeper into who you are and what you do. Because I think our heart is to create a space where people can genuinely connect and understand the mission and the purpose of what you're doing, and obviously celebrate that together. But also, for some, actually, they're getting a nudge as they're watching this, and they're actually getting drawn into something because there's people that on the journey, God wants to connect with you for the future. And so it's great to hear about ways that people can get involved, can get connected. And it's great that just having this discussion, more people can hear about what you're doing. And, you know, I'd like to encourage people watching to actually share this with other people. If you know someone that you think would really benefit from hearing about this amazing work, then share it with them. Point them towards this interview, point them towards your website, point them towards the resources that are there, so that together, you know, we can do more, and we can really see something amazing appearing as you sort of step into the future, and as you say, step out of this past season into what appears to be a new place where opportunities are opening up and dreams are being realised. That's pretty exciting, isn't it?
It
is very exciting.
Thank you for spending this time with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
All about
Yeah,
yourselves
so
and
good.
Route 61. It's been
Brilliant.
fantastic.
Thank you.
you.